have you ever caught yourself doing something and thought, wait, why am I actually doing this? Are those choices really yours, or are you just kind of following the herd without even realizing it? Today, we're diving into a genuinely wild social experiment about the invisible rules that completely control our everyday behavior. It's going to make you seriously question how easily our brains can be hijacked by the people around us. Okay, picture this. A woman is sitting completely alone in what looks like your standard boring doctor's waiting room. Suddenly, this random electronic beep echoes through the room. And without missing a beat, she just stands right up. She waits a second and then quietly sits back down. You watch it and you instantly think, why on earth is she doing that? There's no instructional sign on the wall, no doctor calling her name over an intercom, just a random meaningless beep. It's honestly kind of comical, but to figure out this bizarre behavior, we have to look at exactly how her environment shaped her actions.
So let's rewind a bit to the very beginning to dissect exactly how this invisible trap was set. Because look, it wasn't a magic trick. She wasn't hypnotized in some swinging pocket watch kind of way. It was a very deliberate, silent setup. Initially, that waiting room was packed with people who looked like perfectly normal patients flipping through magazines. But, unbeknownst to our totally unsuspecting subject, every single other person in that room was an actor secretly in on the experiment.
It's actually wild how fast this whole thing escalates. I mean, we go from a perfectly normal waiting room to full-on silent social pressure in under half a minute. Think about that. At 2 seconds in, our subject walks into what she assumes is just a standard waiting room. By 7 seconds, the hidden actors are secretly mentally prepping their instructions. At 15 seconds, that first beep sounds and the actors stand up in total unison. And by just 27 seconds in, the woman caves. She conforms. In less than 30 seconds, an entirely new, completely irrational social norm is born and adopted.
But here is the absolute craziest part of the whole shebang. 0. That's the exact number of words spoken by the actors to enforce this new rule. They don't pull her aside and say, hey, you got to stand up now. They don't hand her a pamphlet of waiting room rules. Nothing. Not a single word. The only cue she gets is that one specific beep sound and the physical, synchronized movement of the group around her. It just goes to show, you literally don't need verbal instructions or threats to feel this immense, heavy pressure to comply. The sheer weight of the crowd moving as one is totally enough.
You can literally watch her psychological shift happen right in front of your eyes. First, there's that visible confusion. You know that look, looking around thinking, did I miss a memo? Then she shifts to close observation. She's studying the actors, desperately trying to find a pattern or some logical reason for what they're doing. But then comes the tipping point. Her independent action just erodes. The sheer awkwardness of being the odd one out starts to totally override her rational brain. And finally, she just goes for it. Full adoption. She stands up, perfectly in sync with a bunch of total strangers.
Now, the researchers wanted to up the ante, because the real test of conformity isn't just what you do when the crowd is actively watching you, right? It's what you do when the crowd completely disappears. So one by one, the actors are called out of the room. The group shrinks and shrinks until finally the woman is sitting there entirely by herself. There is literally no one left to copy. Logically, you'd think, okay, the pressure's off, she's going to drop the act and stop popping up at every beep.
But no! This is where you see the true, deep-rooted power of conformity. When the group was there, she stood up at the beep, which, okay, textbook peer pressure, we get it. But when she is all alone, she still stands up when the beep sounds. Even without the physical presence of the group breathing down her neck, that newly conditioned behavior is locked in. It completely morphed from a conscious choice to fit in, right into this automatic, internalized response. The rule literally outlasted the people who invented it.
Okay, so just when you think it can't get any weirder, the experiment takes another wild turn. Right as she's fully conditioned, standing up to a random beep in an empty room, a brand new, totally unaware participant walks in. A real person, not an actor. So this guy walks into a room where a solitary stranger is performing this bizarre, silent ritual. The power dynamic is totally flipped. Now, our original subject is the one enforcing the unspoken rules of the room, even though those rules make absolutely zero sense to an outsider.
So the new guy sits down, gets comfortable, and sure enough, beep. The woman stands up, waits a beat, and sits back down. He just stares at her, completely bewildered by this solo performance. And he does what literally any rational person would do. He just flat out asks her, why are you doing that? It's the ultimate moment of truth. She is suddenly forced to explain.